Actress Alison Steadman has always wanted to trace her Welsh ancestry. She's best known for playing Pamela in comedy Gavin and Stacey, where Welsh girl Stacey plans to marry Gavin from England in
Bowie Island? Oh, we're going to have the wedding reception on the log flume.
She may have played the Essex matriarch, but in real life, Alison has always known about her Welsh ancestry. So how does she feel at the start of this special journey?
I feel excited this morning and a little bit nervous. Intrigued, I think is the word. And I'm so excited, I'm really looking forward to it.
But having grown up in Liverpool, how does Alison know she has Welsh ancestry?
I only know that my grandfather was called Maurice Evans. My mother and my Aunt Mary always called him Dada, as opposed to father or daddy or whatever. So Dada always was Welsh. And my mother would always say, Dada was Welsh, but that's it.
In fact, tracing her Welsh ancestors will prove much harder than Alison can possibly imagine, as Alison Steadman is coming home. Later in the programme, Alison is lost for words.
Siarad Cymraeg, what?
Siarad Cymraeg yn iawn? No, dipping back. She doesn't speak it.
Comes face to face with the past.
Oh, I'm so proud. That's fantastic.
And learns of a moving story very close to her heart.
That's very sad. Very sad.
Alison's journey begins not in Wales, but here in the heart of the city of Liverpool, where she was born in 1946. Her late mother was Marjorie Evans, and Alison really wants to prove her mother was right when she said the Evans family came from Wales. Her grandfather, Maurice Evans, died when Alison was very young. But why does she know so little of this side of her family?
My mother never talked about her grandparents or any aunts or uncles on that side of the family. She only ever talked about him. But she never said what part of Wales the family came from or anything.
Alison is determined to prove her mother was correct and that she does have Welsh ancestry. The story begins in the heart of Liverpool and a meeting with genealogist Mike Churchill-Jones.
Hi Alison.
Hello.
We've been researching your family tree.
Yes. This is just amazing. I'm just seeing this.
We'll make it as simple as possible.
Sure.
If we come to your mother, Marjorie.
Yes.
Now, lots of great names, but only one Marjorie. Any idea why she's called Marjorie?
No idea at all. I guess it was a popular name at the time.
Alison will later come to learn the significance of her mother's name of Marjorie. But was her mother right? Did the Evanses come from Wales?
I've been unravelling this Evans line, and the good news for you is that I can take it right back to your 6 times great-grandparents, who were from a small village called Tref ar Clawdd.
Tref
Ar Clawdd.
ar Clawdd.
Now, it's a small village, well-speaking village, not far from Llangollen.
Fantastic.
Alison is clearly delighted, but in fact, this is by no means the end of her quest. Tracing her Welsh ancestry will prove much more complicated than first appears. But how did her family come from the village of Tref ar Clawdd to Liverpool?
Your great-great-grandfather, Maurice Evans. Now, he brought your Evans line to Liverpool.
Right.
He came here in 1838. Do you have any idea why he came here?
No idea at all, no. I would imagine because of work, because perhaps there wasn't much work in Wales, I don't know.
He had a really Welsh occupation, really. He was a coal miner, like all the generations before him in Tref ar Clawdd. They worked as miners,
right.
coal especially. Hopefully we'll unravel the mystery of why he came to Liverpool later on for you.
Later, Alison will try to uncover what caused her family to abandon their home to travel to Liverpool. Before that, The story starts with William Barrow, her 3 times great-grandfather, on the Liverpool side of her tree. He was a master clockmaker, and researching his story has been BBC Antiques expert David Harper.
I'm very excited because apparently you've got something interesting to tell me about William Barrow, who was my great-grandfather.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you look at this directory here, this is a fantastic copy of the Gores Liverpool directory, dated 1825.
With over 10,000 clockmakers in the city, entry into this directory was reserved for only the very finest craftsmen. At this time, David knows that Alison's 3 times great-grandfather, William Barrow, was living in the city of Liverpool in Norbury Place.
Right, okay.
So if we just turn the page, and we see there are several Barrow. If you just go down the list, Alison, and see if you can find me William living at Norbury Place.
Right. Oh my goodness! William, watchmaker.
Your William Barrow was a watchmaker here in Liverpool.
Surviving clocks from William Barrow's time are extremely rare, so David is thrilled that he's managed to track down and photograph a very special clock from this period.
So this is a very lovely example of a Liverpool clock. Look at the quality here. Look at the figuration. It's made out of mahogany. I'll show you the workings as well. They're going back to items being made by hand. Every tooth is cut
Yes.
and ground by hand. Every item. Every little spindle.
The man who made this clock made it with great pride and skill. He placed a number 15 on the works, denoting it was the 15th he had made in his career.
There's no 2 clocks like this in the world. There's only 1 clock like this.
David is very excited. He's about to reveal the maker of this special clock. None other than Alison's own 3 times great-grandfather, William Barrow of Liverpool.
If we look at the face, it might tell us everything we need to know.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! William Barrow, Liverpool. Gosh. Oh, I'm so proud. That's fantastic. I feel incredibly proud. That is beautiful.
It really is beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't know how beautiful that clock is, and for someone like me that handles items like this, to see it in close-up pictures, it is a beautiful piece.
Alison is now back on the trail of Maurice Evans and his wife Martha, her great-great-grandparents who came from the village of Trefarclawdd to Liverpool in the 1830s. She knows there is a mystery as to why they came. But first, Alison is about to learn of the importance of the Welsh community in Liverpool. Arriving from North Wales just across the Mersey, the influence of the Welsh is clear to see, such as this magnificent Welsh chapel on Chatham Street in the heart of the city. But it's at nearby Sion Chapel where Alison meets with Welsh Minister Ben Rees, a Liverpudlian of 40 years. He's been researching the history of the Welsh in Liverpool.
So Liverpool has always been a very important place for the Welsh.
Yes, ever since it grew. I mean, Liverpool is a village up till middle of the 18th century, but once it grew into a town, then it really became a Welsh centre, and young people flocked here for different reasons, economic reasons and so on. And by 1810, there were about 10% of the population of Liverpool was Welsh speaking. By 1880, there were at least 50 to 80,000 Welsh speakers. So it was the largest Welsh community anywhere in the world.
As a chapel minister, Ben still conducts regular services in Welsh today.
So after 40 years, come on, are you a Liverpudlian? Are you Welsh?
Well, it's a difficult question, but for me, I'm Welsh first and Liverpudlian second. I get the best of both worlds. I wouldn't change it.
Right. I guess I feel the same too.
But what brought Maurice and Martha, Alison's great-great-grandparents, from their village of Trefarclawdd to Liverpool? Alison is about to learn they were here to marry in St David's, the Welsh church in the city. She wants to visit St David's, but sadly it was demolished by the expansion of the railway over 100 years ago. Standing on the site today is the Adelphi Hotel.
So here we are at the Adelphi, right?
The Adelphi was built when Liverpool was the great second city of the British Empire. Alison's great-great-grandparents Maurice and Martha Evans were married in a Welsh-language service in the church that once occupied this site. Social historian Gillian Rice has been researching their story and has unearthed their marriage certificate.
Want to have a look at their names on the certificate?
Oh, wow. Maurice Evans. What's her name? Sorry?
There's Martha Price, Maurice Evans and Martha Price.
Martha Price.
Yep, and they married on the 8th of October, 1838.
Right.
However, Gillian has noticed something unusual in the marriage certificate. In the eyes of the law as it was then, they were minors. They were underage and would have needed their parents' consent for the marriage to be legal.
If you go down to the witnesses, there's actually no mention of parents as witnesses.
Oh, no.
And they're minors, which means that they're in Liverpool for a reason. They've actually run away from home. They've eloped at 17 and 18, and they've married without parental consent.
Oh, gosh.
Even after marrying, Maurice and Martha would not or could not return home to Trefarclawdd. Instead, they lived in slum dwellings in Liverpool, sharing a cellar room with 3 other families. Known as so-called cellar dwellers, Martha and Maurice must have endured terrible hardships, most especially Martha, who had just given birth to their first child.
It must have been a nightmare. Total nightmare.
Why had Maurice and Martha run away from home to live in such terrible poverty? For answers, Alison is now anxious to leave Liverpool for Wales. But just before that, there's one final story she must learn concerning her mother, Marjorie Evans. At the start of her journey, genealogist Mike Churchill-Jones asked Alison if she had any idea why her mother was given the Christian name of Marjorie.
No idea at all. I guess it was a popular name at the time.
In fact, Mike has had to dig deep into the archive to find what appears to be the answer to this question. The story concerns Alison's maternal grandmother, Mary, seen here as a young woman. Mary was the mother of Alison's mum, Marjorie Evans, and worked in domestic service in a private house in Liverpool.
In 1901, she's actually a domestic servant, a housemaid, for a family called Miskelly. The couple have 2 children.
Records show Mary worked for over 10 years as a live-in housemaid for the Miskelly family, bringing up their 2 young children, a girl and a little boy called John.
That's what happened to him.
John Alexander Miskelly, male, 14 months. Oh, gosh. Died at 14 months. Acute cerebral meningitis convulsions. Oh. I think my grandmother, she was quite a emotional woman as well. She would have really...
It would have affected her,
would have really would have affected her, I'm sure. I'm sure, yeah.
As the only housemaid for the Miskelly family, Alison's grandmother Mary must have been close to the 2 children in her care. But what of their second child? A little girl.
And this second child, you can read about this child here.
Daughter of Alexander McKee Miskelly. Oh, that's awful. Scarlet fever, oh my goodness.
The Miskelly's second child, their daughter, died within a few months of her brother. But how deeply did this affect Alison's grandmother, Mary? She would go on to have her own daughter, Marjorie, who grew up to be Alison's mum. But what was the name of the little girl who died?
Marjorie. Do you know, that's funny because she obviously called my mother Marjorie after this little girl.
50 years later, Alison simply knew Mary as her grandmother, but for the first time, she is learning something of her past.
Didn't even know that my grandmother was in service. The fact that she called my mother Marjorie is very significant and very touching, really. That's very sad. Very sad.
The following day, and Alison is excited to finally be heading to Wales. She's off to visit Tref Claudd, the home village of her great-great-grandparents Martha and Morris Evans. She hopes to unlock the mystery of why they eloped to Liverpool. The journey begins in Chirk, near Wrexham, just a few miles from Tref Claudd. It's here that she will be staying during her visit. Alison is determined to prove that her mother, Marjorie Evans, was right about the family having Welsh ancestry. Alison's search for her Welsh ancestors takes her to the nearby livestock market. She's here to get a flavour of the area where her Evans family came from. But what do the local people know of her ancestors and their village of...
Now, I've got to get the name right. Not far from here, Tref.
Treffernan? No, I don't Treffernan. Treffernan.
Tref Claudd.
Siarad Cymraeg yn iawn? No, dipyn bach.
Siarad Cymraeg, what?
Siarad Cymraeg yn iawn? No, dipyn bach. She doesn't speak it.
It's a difficult language.
Alison is in need of some quick Welsh lessons and seeks out auctioneer Glandon Lewis.
The Welsh language, I have to say, when you look at it written, I mean, it's so difficult. Just all those kind of sounds, those ch and cles and all that.
Yes, so I'm going to give you a quick Welsh lesson now. Croeso.
Croeso.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I know that word.
You know that one? A diolch yn fawr.
A diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.
Well, dyna ni.
Now Alison is finally arriving in Tref Claudd, the small and ancient hamlet where generations of her Evans family lived and worked as coal miners. It's hard to believe, but this field is where the colliery once stood, and would have been dominated by mine workings and black with coal dust. There's little here her ancestors would recognise, except perhaps for this area. Bordering the site of the old mine works is this ancient copse of trees, and this unusual high-sloping bank, which is known to be thousands of years old. It provides a clue to the story Alison is about to discover. She doesn't know it yet, but the nearby house she is about to visit would have been very familiar to her great-great-grandparents and many earlier generations of her family. Now a farmhouse, it was originally built for the manager of the coal mine. Waiting to greet Alison are the Robert Jones family, who are Deborah and her husband Elliot, and Elliot's mum, Elmira.
The reason I'm here in this area is because today I have learned that the Welsh side of my family, my grandfather Morris Evans and his ancestors, going back to 1667, I think, were from this area. Right. Originally, they were from this area. Now, I'm not very good at pronouncing the name of it, but it's
Trevor Cloud.
Trevor Cloud.
This farm, yes.
Yes. So it's not really a village, is it? It's
a little region, really.
Yes.
It's a little area. Mainly consists, doesn't it, of the farm, and then there's the cemetery, isn't there?
Yes.
And there was
2-3
a
houses as well. Yeah.
My family has been traced back to a Richard Evans who actually lived here. I am pretty sure that my family would have been Welsh speaking.
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit of Welsh for me? Would you mind?
Mae'n da gen i wedi cael cyfarfod â chi heddiw. I'm glad to have met you today.
Oh, that's good.
Nice. Well, I wish I could reply in Welsh.
Alison is clearly right at home and is thrilled to have proven her mother was right all along, that the Evanses were indeed from Wales.
It's great to think that, having looked at the family tree, here I am, actually in Wales, and I've actually come to the place where my family were from all those hundreds of years ago.
Just like to drop a little bit of a bombshell to you, because unfortunately, although you feel or think you are in Wales, we're actually still in England.
No.
Yes.
We're not.
We are. Yeah, we are
So,
still in England.
Where's the border? Where's
Well, Offers Dyke was historically the border, which is...
It's on the end of our field.
But how can Alison possibly be in England? Trevor Cloud is a Welsh name, and Welsh is spoken here. But in fact, it's been on the English side of the border for hundreds of years, in the county of Shropshire. The name of Trevor Cloud was a clue. In Welsh, it means town on the dyke. That dyke is Offers Dyke, traditionally seen as the border between England and Wales. Alison wants to see for herself this ancient boundary and meets with Catherine Roberts from Cadw, who will explain the importance of Offers Dyke.
What it is an ancient frontier or border between two kingdoms that existed before the time, really, when England and Wales, as we understand today, had come into being.
So what significance would Offers Dyke have had for my ancestors?
Well, it'd be interesting to know what they knew about Offers Dyke, isn't it? They would have known its name, but it's fair to say that until the 20th century, there'd never been a sort of really detailed study of the dyke.
So that would have been England?
Well, this is the Mercian side. Not England as we know it now.
No.
But that's the Mercian side, and this is the Welsh side.
Yeah, I think I've got to accept that they were on the borders and probably more to the English than the Welsh.
Alison's late mother Marjorie had always believed the Evans family were from Wales, and Alison is clearly very disappointed with what she has discovered. She's now visiting for herself the place along Offers Dyke in Trevor Cloud, where generations of her Evans ancestors worked as coal miners. This is the land where they dug coal, often by hand. Children as well as adults. And it's here that Alison's quest for her Welsh ancestry, through her Evans family, must sadly come to an end. She now knows that her much-cherished family story is simply not true.
I was very disappointed. Now, it seems silly. What's a few miles, you know, whether it's England or Wales, but having lived for years and years thinking, oh, I've got a Welsh background, to discover that that's probably not true, I was disappointed, I have to say.
Back at her hotel in the nearby village of Chirk, that evening Alison knows she can take the family story of her Welsh ancestry no further. Well, not quite. The following day brings much better news for Alison. She's at a special church in Rwabon, very definitely in Wales, and a place where many of her ancestors would have worshipped. Whilst Maurice Evans, Alison's great-great-grandfather, lived on the English side of the border in Trebarclawdd, his wife Martha, whose maiden name was Price, came from the Welsh side, from the village of Rwabon. Martha was Alison's great-great-grandmother, and Michael Churchill-Jones has managed to trace her Welsh ancestors back a very long way.
We can go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations in Rwabon.
I am Welsh, after all.
You are Welsh.
I am Welsh. That's fantastic. I thought I must be, I kept thinking, my mother couldn't have been wrong, and I feel incredibly proud. Born in Rwabon. Born in Rwabon. There we are.
So she is definitely Welsh. But Alison still wants to know, why did her great-great-grandparents, Maurice and Martha, run away to Liverpool to get married?
There was an inauspicious start to these two's marriage. They were 17 and 18. They were underaged. They never had consent. They went off to Liverpool.
Yes.
And they got married.
Yeah.
And we wondered why they didn't have consent.
The answer lies in Rwabon's parish records, which clearly shows that Martha's mother married Maurice's father, after both had previously been widowed, thus making Maurice and Martha step-brother and sister.
And I suspect they would have viewed Maurice and Martha as brother and sister from that moment on. And obviously, as the law, there was no reason that they couldn't be in love and get married.
But presumably there was a bit of a hoo-ha.
They would have objected in some way.
So they ran off to Liverpool?
They ran off to Liverpool.
And that's how the family ended up in Liverpool?
Indeed.
Right, I see.
Despite the very difficult start Maurice and Martha had in life, they clearly reconciled with their parents, who later came to live with them in Liverpool.
So they were reconciled?
Yeah.
And there they are, in 1851, all living in the same house?
All living in the same house, yes.
So they got out of that horrible cellar that they started off in. Gosh, that must have been so awful.
Maurice and Martha would be married for 64 years, and their grandson was also Alison's grandfather.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's lovely.
Alison is finally able to say that she's Welsh, and is now coming to the end of her extraordinary journey. A journey in which she's received a warm welcome on both the Welsh and English sides of the border. But at the end of her quest, how does she feel about her ancestral story finally crossing the border into Wales?
Well, I've been Welsh, not Welsh, and then I'm back to Welsh. I feel incredibly proud. I think it's important that we can go back and appreciate our families, where they've come from, their hardships, their triumphs in life, and perhaps to try to work out where I fit in. I feel much more akin with the Welsh part of my family now, absolutely. It just has opened a huge door for me in my life.
Next time on Coming Home, actor Charles Dale puts his DNA to the test. That's next Wednesday at 8:30 here on BBC One Wales.